Our next speaker is Celia Jackson, and she will be talking about the CD caucuses, and I'm going to get her slideshow ready, but she can introduce herself while I'm doing that.
Hey, gang. Hey. So my name is Celia Jackson. I'm with the coordinated campaign. I just hit the ground recently. I'm born in Iowa. I caucus for Bernie in Iowa. Yeah. Unfortunately, I couldn't double caucus, so I had to sit this one out for the sake of not committing voter fraud. So I think that Noel actually hit a really powerful point. We have a lot of big battles coming up with our state ledge, and we need all of this energy and enthusiasm for those folks too. If we want to see our schools funded, Supreme Court said we better do it. Still kind of waiting around for that. We want to see a transportation bill. It's our state ledge. If we want to see a Voting Rights Act, again, these people are at a local level and they can't do it without us. They have a lot of really big fights coming up. The Democratic, we always vote Democrat at the top of the ticket here in Washington, but we struggle down ticket. We struggle with our state representatives and our state senators, and there's a lot of room to grow there. So I really encourage everyone to get involved in the LD structure. They'll be happy to have you. But now that my slideshow is ready, I'm going to talk a little bit about our congressional district caucuses. So these are very similar to our LD caucuses in the way that the agendas are set up and kind of the way that the delegates are allocated. But there's a couple of little caveats that we're going to discuss. So I don't have the locations yet. And I'm sorry, I asked everyone, but I'm the coordinated campaign and I am not responsible for that bit. But keep checking in. Keep checking in with your LD chairs. Keep checking in with your county chairs. The information has to be available no less than 10 days before the 21st. So that's the 11th. If you haven't heard by then you can really start squawking about it. So at the CD level, we'll be electing 67 delegates. And these folks are going to the National Convention. So this is the last step, final step. We're not doing alternates for those 67 folks. And anyone who is in candidacy is given the same 1 minute to...
The video's messed up apparently, hold
on. Everyone gets 1 minute still. And the caveat that I think is really interesting, and I actually had to do a lot of digging myself to be like, what? So we're electing our 10 electors. We all hear about the Electoral College. It's always kind of like, what the heck is going on with that? I don't get it. In 2000, it really messed us up with George W. Bush, one of, I think, 4 presidents, the popular vote, but won the Electoral College. So when you're considering your votes as far as who you'd like to vote for as a delegate, that's something that should absolutely weigh in. That's one of the reasons we have the break of gender. It's a little bit harder to do that with some of these other groups, right? So it's just something you should be conscious of as you're moving through the process and as we're electing folks. Yes, ma'am.
My understanding was that the at-large delegates, that when those are elected, that committee looks at the percentages and the breakdowns of these specially targeted groups and try to fill in the gap in a diplomatic way, ensuring that we're representing the population.
And that's at the state level, the state convention.
And just so you know, people with disabilities are one of the
Yes, they are included. I'm sorry. I couldn't remember. There's I think
I know.
6 to 10. Yeah, it's a big group of folks.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
So what if you're interested in going up the delegate process through the county conventions and so on, is there anything other than preparing a 1-minute speech, or what else could you do?
Sure. So I've heard some stories in the past. I've heard folks handing out flyers, handing out postcards, water bottles with flyers. I would think that strong rhetoric on your own behalf is enough, but I know that people will also be flyering. They'll send out postcards to people in their districts, things like that. It's like running mini campaigns, if you will.
I could talk a little bit about the 7th Congressional Caucus in 2008. I was a delegate to the Congressional District Caucus, and I got emails from 30 or 40 different people who were campaigning to go ahead and be that delegate. Like you said, everybody showed up outside of the site with their flyer about why they should be selected. 7th District, again, we had 6 or 8 men and 6 or 8 women to be elected to the national level. There were, I think, about 50 of each who were campaigning and got their minute to go ahead and talk. It was over an hour of listening to these 1-minute speeches. And you needed to take notes on who it was that you thought that you would end up voting for. And I don't anticipate that the 7th Congressional District is going to be any different this year.
Sure.
A lot of you are going to be there.
That was a great question. So you're welcome to do it if you will. Oh, hey, we just won Wyoming. Yeah. Awesome.
60-40, what's the final count?
Let's see. Do you have the final
I
count?
don't know if it gets gonna, it's just the Bernie text message.
It's about 60-40.
60-40 is what I'm hearing. Excellent.
Yeah, that's okay.
Well, I will turn it back over to Georgia. Thanks so much, gang. And don't forget, our state ledge needs our help. I want to see our schools funded. I've settled here for the rest of my life. I plan on having children. I'd like them to go to school without,
Before
gifted
you
kids
give
in my
it the
class.
microphone, talk a little bit about what the role is of the coordinated campaign.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you. So I'm here as the regional field director. I will be working to turn out Democrats in November. It's a hard task, and something that I think is an important distinction to make. Something that's important to me is I want to leave a legacy behind. So while maybe folks in the past, if they come in, they get it done, they're here to win, that's great. I get it. But we can build a structure here that lasts forever. If we get folks that go to LD meetings, and not just the typical suspects, folks that look like me, going to these meetings and really participating, and that starts to reflect in our legislature. We just saw Noelle, she was appointed by PCOs of her LD. So the more folks that go to those meetings, the more that we can affect how we're represented in our communities at a state level, which is huge. So with the coordinated, we support, right now, on an official capacity, I'm Switzerland, because we'll support Democrats. So whoever is the nominee, and when we get past our primary, that's who we'll be fighting for. But we're also fighting for our down ballot candidates. They need our help. They need our help more than almost the top tickets, right? They have less resources. They are generally folks that are just like you and me. I talked to a woman who's running in the 30th. She's been a nurse for 17 years. She was doing no campaigns, and she shouldn't have to. But I'm here to advocate for those people as well, because it's so important that they have the opportunity to represent us in a very meaningful way, a way that affects our daily lives here in Washington.
I mean, it seems to me that it doesn't do us any good at all to get Bernie into the White House if we saddle him with what's currently in Congress.
That's true. That's absolutely true, because if we want him to get stuff done,
He's got to have progressives in.
exactly, and we have a big fight coming up. Our state legislature is almost entirely Republican.
Where are the biggest fights right now that we should put energy into as well as for Bernie?
30th, 5th, 41st.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that last one once more?
41st. Yes, ma'am.
South Bell.
Thank you, Celia.
Yes.
Next